Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industries. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews. So wonderful to be here with you today. It is a beautiful day. I love when the sun is shining and I can jump on the mic. I like being home, but I also like to travel. But I love being home especially when I get to interview a special guest like today. Angela is with us today. I'm going to let you tell everyone about who you are and what you do, kind of what your story is.
Okay, so I'm Angela Thurman. I am the founder and CEO of Thurman Co, which is a project management consulting firm in Houston, Texas.
Yes, and I am like excited to work with you. There's so many other things that you're doing outside of that, but that's your entrepreneur arm.
Yes.
You also work with WIM. Can you tell us about that?
So, Women in Manufacturing is a trade association that's been around for 15 or 16 years. It's headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio, but there are about 35 different chapters across the United States. And I am the membership director and treasurer for the Texas chapter. And Texas, as you might well imagine, is a very large chapter. So while we're only almost 4 years old, we are one of the largest chapters, and we have one of the largest, we're the largest chapter geographically, but also in numbers as well. So we have about 1,600 members right now. And so we started 4 years ago with about 100 members. So in 2000, we started, and then bam, COVID hit. But through the efforts of our leadership team, we have grown tremendously in the last 4 years. So WIM is, like I said, a trade association for women in manufacturing, and we're dedicated to promote, support, and inspire women who have elected careers in manufacturing or in companies like mine that support manufacturing. And it runs the whole gamut, the career path from students to retirement. And we have huge corporate members like Coca-Cola or um, um, Tesla, Boeing, some really big powerhouse members down to little corporate companies like mine and individual members that aren't even members of a large corporate organization. So it really is open to anyone that's interested in manufacturing and even male allies as well. So I really enjoy my time spent with volunteering with WIM. And in fact, I just had a WIM event a little bit earlier today to welcome new members to the chapter.
Well, we love that you are supporting that. And I love if y'all like graphs, she has this really amazing like geographic to show. I don't think I said that right, but a map that shows where
Yeah.
everyone is located. And it's phenomenal. So I love that. And just, being active and being there for people. The pandemic was definitely a hard time and we had to come together. And so it was a great way to build relationships during that time. So glad organizations like WIM, were created or were there, and we could take advantage of that. I wanted to let everybody know that because it's kind of part of how you're continuingly to be active in manufacturing. But I do want to know how you got in this space. Like, what made you want to set out and get into manufacturing?
So, pardon me. So my first real job out of college was as an electrical engineer working on the power systems of the space station. So I worked for NASA. But in the middle, between graduation and when I could actually start my NASA job in September, I had an entire summer where I was at loose ends. And I took an internship with a local company that worked in specialty materials. Specifically, it was a silicon and germanium foundry. And so silicon and germanium have many special properties because they are semiconductors, but they are also infrared glass, and are used for infrared windows for night vision systems, specifically silicon especially. So this company that I worked for, it's changed hands now, but had a lab where they grew the monocrystalline, so a single crystal of germanium or silicon that could weigh, 30, 40 kilos of all in one single crystalline structure. So that's huge. And that was specifically for semiconductor properties or purposes. And I worked for the physicist, Dr. Jeroy Richter, in that lab. He was doing some studies on temperature versus resistivity and how that affected how temperature affected the resistivity of the silicon or germanium. And so I spent the whole summer in a little lab running sample after sample after sample with different properties, different dopants and so forth. And then he used that data to write an academic paper, and the data also then later went into their technical sales brochure. So that was
had to be, yeah, I was going to say that had to be really rewarding as a student coming out to do that work.
Yeah, it was, and because I had taken material science, during my engineering courses. And that was the application. I mean, I really got to see it in daily life. And then later, when I left NASA, I came back to that company as a sales engineer and worked for them for a few years. So that was kind of my introduction to manufacturing. When I came back as a sales engineer, then of course I would have direct interaction with the people on the shop floor, because I get requests from customers for some very specific, unique requests for lenses. And I'd go out and I'd talk to the director, the manager of the shop floor, and say, can we really do that? Do we need to put a bevel on the edge? Is it going to be too sharp? Because germanium and silicon are both very brittle. I'll just use the word metals. Trying to work together to satisfy the customer's requests within the parameters of what the material could actually withstand. So we'd be running CNC machines and polishers and things like that.
Yeah, you got a huge overview of manufacturing through that company. I am curious, I'm sure people are curious. So what was your work there that you did at NASA?
I am an electrical engineer. And so I oversaw a couple of contractors in the design and build of prototype and testing of prototype load converters for the space station. So, as you know, the space station is powered by solar power. So there are these large solar arrays, and that's all DC power. And then the living modules are powered by AC power. So there has to be and then the transport of that power is AC. So you have to convert the power from DC, from the solar power, solar panels rather, to convert it to AC to transport it to then the living modules. So that's what the load converter does.
Okay. Very cool.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm learning stuff all over the place during this interview, which is great. It's that fascination with definitely space, but engineering in itself and how our world works based on all of these things. I mean, just made me think about like how new using solar panels feels to some people, but it's been around forever, you know,
A
like
long time.
so I say forever, you know what I meant. And so anyway, that's very cool. And I think that inspires us, right? And gets us in that space where what manufacturing is and the people behind it and the science behind all of this is really,
Mhm.
really cool and amazing to be a part of. Now you are now consulting others. Do you have like certain industries or different aspects that you try to stay within?
So given my background with NASA, and then I went into telecommunications because a network is a network is a network, regardless of whether it's an electrical network or a telecommunications network. You've got sources and sinks and transport. So I went into telecommunications and I had a very successful and long career in telecommunications. In fact, my master's degree is in telecommunications. Um, and I worked for a couple of very reputable companies in that field. When I left the telecommunications industry, I went back to my origins and went back into aerospace. So I worked for 10 plus years for one of the largest manufacturers of avionics in the US. And so avionics covers communication, navigation, and surveillance. And so think of all of the components that might be in the flight deck where the pilots sit. And you think of that array of buttons that a pilot has in front of them and at their feet and everything. And those are the kind of components that the company I worked for manufactured or subcontracted. And so I was a subcontracts program manager and worked with the suppliers who would manufacture products, very complex products that we would purchase and then integrate into larger systems that we sold to the OEMs or original equipment manufacturers who manufactured the aircraft. So think Boeing and Airbus, Dassault or Bombardier. And I largely worked on Boeing and Airbus platforms, the really big planes, commercial aircraft. And so I worked with lots of different complex products and worked with those suppliers to deliver the products to my employer. And I was involved, with entry into service for the 747-8, the world's largest cargo hauler, if I can say that, at that time. And I think probably still. And then the 787 entry into service as well. On the Airbus side, the A350, I was the lead subcontracts program manager for all subcontracted products that we sold to Airbus, which was about 35 different products. And so I had, a monthly report to Airbus about the quality of all those products, on-time delivery, you know, and if things weren't, if there were any issues, you know, then I tracked it down and I reported to Airbus directly, you know, down to every single serial number of all of these different products. And so that was a lot to manage, but I really enjoyed it. And at times I would be on site at different suppliers that needed an extra helping hand, either to ensure that a product was qualified on time, or that maybe there was a quality improvement plan in place. But just, you know, working with those supplier teams to just ensure that everything was going as needed.
Yeah, it's a critical industry, of
It
course.
is.
And there's
Yes.
so many different pieces. I mean, you've got the details down, right? The engineering side of you and all of that, but it's also like this project manager
Mhm.
role as well as, supportive. I mean, it's just a lot of different
Right.
personnel
Well,
traits, strengths that you have to have to be successful in that.
well, I'm a certified project management professional, but I'm also a lean master. So during my time you know, with this aerospace company, I did study a lot of lean practices. So so I'm a certified lean master as well.
Very cool. So I mean, you've got a lot of training and education tied into this, but what do you think, if you're kind of thinking about what you love about these industries and manufacturing and staying in it, like what
Mhm.
keeps you here? Because it seems like you keep leveling up in this field, right? So
Well, yeah, I do, because I'm working on my Six Sigma black belt now, and
okay.
I'm using a project from WIM to achieve my black belt.
What are you going to do with this black belt? I'm so excited about this.
Well, so I'm for the black belt, I'm using data from the WIM membership roster, uh, and so I'm making improvements to how we utilize that data, and um, really creating a process around how we do that. And so Six Sigma is all about reducing variation. So I want to create a process that will reduce variation so that even when I leave the role of membership director, others will be able to come in and follow along and continue to keep the process the same and get even, you know, better results um, than we've ever had before.
Yeah, and I think that it applies to so many different
Yes.
industries and projects and things that we're working on. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I've been in industry 20 years in the pump industry. I remember walking through one of the first lean manufacturing plants. It feels like forever ago, but how important that was, and just learn in the different certifications. And Six Sigma was definitely one of those that was always mentioned and really has helped people just be better in their
Yes.
processes. So I love that. And I'm just excited for people to get to know you. I love the work that you're doing with WIM Texas, and excited to see, we'll be going to Texas. So Empowering Women in Industry will be there for our April meetup. It's the same week as Texas Water. So all of my operators there will be competing, and you would definitely want to see that and be part of Texas Water if you can. We're going to be going on April the 8th. I heard that there was a solar eclipse happening that day at 1:41 p.m. And I was like, well, this is the perfect opportunity to bring us together in this world of STEM and STEAM lovers out there, to witness that. And then we'll have a networking event just following it. And I am excited to kind of get to know your membership there. And so whoever, love to meet you in person, and just make sure that we bring those communities together with manufacturers, operators. I like to do that. Just cut across. It doesn't matter if you're an engineer, operator, sales, or marketing. We want to know you, all of you. So we'll create that opportunity. I'm just thankful for you, Angela, that you will, are connected with me, sharing your knowledge, sharing your community with us. I think there's so much there that we can continue. I mean, when great minds come together, look what, can happen. So excited to see you there. Before I kind of let you go, these are questions it's my little rapid fire that I just have to ask you. I'm really curious on your part. This first question is, what is your favorite book?
To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee.
Do you know that I have had multiple people this week, actually, in my recordings, saying that's their favorite book. So I remember doing that in like high school. So I don't remember that I was in it, when I was reading it then. And then the next question I have for you is music. What do you have favorite tunes, bands, song?
I love a wide range of music, and I was in band in school, so I like a lot of classical stuff because of that. I mean, I was watching a movie the other day, and the background music caught my ear, and I'm like, oh, that is an English folk suite by Vaughan Williams, and and it was.
That's amazing. I like that stuff too.
Right now, I am this year, this is my villain year. But any of that song "Villain" by Lily Rose, yeah, that sums up my energy this year.
I love it. Okay. Speaking of energy, let's talk a little bit about inspiration, and what is some advice, the best advice that you've ever received?
Uh, so I've repeated this on other podcasts, but it hangs true. So I was lucky enough to go to college in my hometown. And two of my professors I had known since childhood. And one of them was a deacon in my church. And when I started taking like the PSAT and the, ASVAB and all of those tests, everyone had always known that I was a bright kid. Well, when I was 16, he gave me a subscription to Woman Engineer magazine. And so that sort of set the path for me. So I would say that Dr. Jim Pearson kind of put me on the path to become an engineer.
I love that. And I love your passion for women and being that example and bringing women into engineering and celebrating that, and knowing that it's a place for you, right? For anybody who might see this and they're wondering, it's definitely a great place for women.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So the last question I have for you is, and you can channel it to that young woman if you want. What is the advice that you would give to someone coming into the industry?
No matter what your gifts are, there's a place in manufacturing for you, whether you are a graphic designer, an accountant, a social media expert, or you want to be on the manufacturing floor. There's a place for you. And so manufacturing just embraces so many different types of talent that there's a place for you. And it's not that dull, dark, dangerous, dirty workplace that your grandfather knew. And it's not solely for men. So I would say, especially to the young women that might be listening, come check it out. And this is a place to earn a really good living. And
you get to work on some really cool projects.
And you get to work on really cool stuff. You get to make stuff.
Absolutely love it. Well, Angela, thank you so much for sharing a little part of your journey. I know that The interest is just peaking, we've piqued everybody's interest, is what I was trying to say. And just, diving in. So, I look forward to meeting you in person, and I can't wait to just kind of watch your journey and how it goes as far as your entrepreneur journey now. And if anybody is listening to this, and I would just say subscribe, share the podcast, because that's how we know, listening to stories, it really is, it stays with us. I mean, I can see you doing that project work right there and getting so excited about the materials in front of you, right? Because you studied it. So share this episode with somebody that you think, that would like this industry, somebody that's, up and coming, or somebody that just needs a reminder that manufacturing is amazing. And we're so glad that, and you know what, if you're in manufacturing and you're listening to this, just thank you. And just know that we think that what you do is awesome, and just take it in. All right, everybody, until next time, be empowering. Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you.